Welcome to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change, with me, Lana Montreese, burlesque and drag movement instructor and coach. During this show, you will discover healing from trauma in a way you never thought possible and become empowered in all areas of your life. Do you feel stuck in a system that seems broken? Are you longing to have meaning in your life? If you answered yes and are ready to change yourself and the world, then you are being called to give Banking on Burlesque a listen. I discovered that healing starts within and would love to help you navigate into a world of sparkle, wonder, and a lifetime of magical change. Banking on Burlesque starts now. Hello and welcome to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change. I'm Lana Montreese, and today I'm going to be introducing you to this show and sharing with you my story and how I stumbled upon the sparkly and magical healing world of burlesque. I even have it written down here that I have a script in my script, and that who am I actually kidding? I have multiple scripts because I just have a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, and that's how this show came together. This has been weeks in the making, but it's actually been years in the making. I first stumbled upon the podcast world. That's actually going to be its own separate story. Its own separate episode of how I stumbled upon the podcast world. But anyways, this is my first podcast, and I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. And through this show, for me, it's my next step on my transformational journey, and really learning to like and love and appreciate my compelling story and my journey and my voice also, and listening to myself talk for an entire segment. But on a serious note, I really couldn't think of a more prominent time for me to launch this show. Like I said, it's been weeks in the making, even years in the making, I even said. But when I originally thought of this show, I wasn't in the mindset, and I didn't actually think that being a burlesque performer, being a drag performer would be considered a crime. That, already just existing as a performer right now in some states is just an act of rebellion. And if you can just sit there and take that in for a moment and just really think that, someone like me walking out in the street in some states dressed like this is considered a crime. And there are people that want to make, me being me illegal, and other people that are like me illegal. And it's a really, really interesting time. So I am really excited to see where this journey takes us all together, and the reach that this might have, and the impact that it can help influence and inspire. I don't know if you've ever just felt that you're called to do something more. And I remember telling someone one time that I want to change the world. And I don't know if you've ever had that feeling of just I want to change the world, but how do I start? Where do I even begin? Can I change the world? Who has the power of changing the world? How does that even happen? I have no idea. And all I know is that I've been able to change my world by just diving headfirst into this world of burlesque. So are you surprised to hear that I found burlesque through banking? So was I. I accidentally stumbled into the banking and financial industry 11 years ago. And from there, I stumbled into burlesque 9 years ago. And when I say stumbled, I mean that they both fell into my life at very pivotal moments. And now looking back, I can see where my dreams were just being answered by the universe, and it allowed me the opportunity to transform my life and live with a sense of purpose. Um, Even now, telling my story, I'm surprised and intrigued by the events and decisions that have brought me to this point. Um, I then I wonder, and I don't know if other people wonder this too, but I will contemplate, what's my legacy going to be? How am I going to be remembered? Who's going to tell my story? Is my story going to be told, or am I going to be forgotten? So this is me taking my story and my life's purpose into my own hands and sharing my story with you through this show. So let's let's take a step back. I've given you a lot to think about. I've kind of even lost myself in what I was trying to give you anything to think about and all to think about. And let's just go on a short break. And when we come back, I will go ahead and just go into, my story, and I'm going to dive deep and let you know what brought me here slowly but surely. Hello, and welcome back to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change with me, Lana Montreese. Oh, let's see. Um, Welcome back to Banking on Burlesque with me, Lana Montreese. I gave you a really brief introduction on how I stumbled upon banking and burlesque, and I'm sure many of you are just asking yourselves, how does that even happen? How does one stumble upon the banking industry? How does one stumble upon the burlesque industry? I've been asked many times how I got into burlesque, and my favorite response is really just telling people I by accident, which is also how I tell people how I found banking was by accident. And I really did find them both by accident. But now, obviously looking back on it, I know that they weren't on accident. I know that all it was all just meant to be, and it all fell into place the way that it needed to, and to bring me here to this point in my life where I'm able to share my story and hopefully help inspire you, to make bigger decisions and to take a chance on yourself and your dreams and what you desire to do. Um, so let's take a few steps back to me stumbling upon banking accidentally. Um, that was back in 2012 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I was managing a kiosk at a kiosk at a mall, and that kiosk was being closed down and turned into a vending machine. So I used to kind of side eye ATM machines because they are an abbreviation for automated teller machine. And coming from a position where my job was taken by a vending machine, I used to take that quite personally. So, but that's actually how I found the banking industry. Is my kiosk was closing down and being turned into a vending machine, and I was at an ATM getting cash out. And when I got this cash out, I got my receipt, and on the bottom of the receipt it said, "Hey, we're hiring." I said, "Oh, hey, look at that, I need a job. I could be one of those cashiers or tellers at the window handing out money to people. I can do that." So I applied, and I got in, and I felt like I hit the jackpot actually at that point in my life. I was able to work up from being a part-time teller to then being a banker sitting in the desks and talking to people. I was 24 years old, giving people probably twice my age financial advice, or trying to anyways. So whew, fast forward from there 2 years, I was 26 years old, and I was feeling miserable. I didn't feel like I had any purpose. I felt like I had I worked really hard, and I did a lot of um I just worked really hard in the banking world, and I didn't feel like I was getting anything in return. I felt like I hit a wall. I didn't really hit a wall. I could have continued to go further, but it just didn't feel like it aligned with me. And I also was having a really rough time in my personal life. I felt just stuck and alone, and like my life had no value. And I'm sure many of you can relate that, sometimes you just get into these moments of rinse and repeat, and going to work and clocking in 40 hours, and that's it. So I was at a really low point, probably the lowest point I've ever been in my life. And I had a really great friendship that had just seemed to come to an abrupt end. And I felt like my life was also coming to an abrupt end. Um, Luckily, through my job, I had a coworker who was involved in the burlesque community, and she was a really big firecracker of she really is a firecracker of a person. Like, I admire and adore this person to this day. They came up to me. I was, super sad. Just imagine me at my little bank job, just being sad and depressed, but also trying to, put the mask on for people, like, no, everything's fine, everything's great. And they came up to me and said, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And my response was, oh, blah, woe is me. I don't have any friends. I'm not doing anything. And so without skipping a beat, they hopped on it and said, okay, well, then you're going to run our merch table at this burlesque festival. And burlesque festival, I was like, to me, when I first thought of burlesque, my mind immediately went to, the movie with Christina Aguilera with Cher. Like, I'm sure you all know the movie Burlesque. It's actually on Netflix right now. So a lot of people in the burlesque community that are probably even going to side eye me for bringing this up. And even I'm actually going to admit that it's one of my dirty little secrets that people in the burlesque community, you either love the burlesque movie or you hate it. I'm just gonna say that. And just with any movie, you either love a movie or you hate it. So with the burlesque movie, you either love it or you hate it. I love it because I love the really corny, cheesy, like underlining like love story. Anyways, but I also related to the character that Christina Aguilera played in that movie, where she, is a small town girl and just stumbles upon this like life of magic and performance and being empowered and getting on stage and starting to like just come into your own world and knowing what you want. And so when I went so when I was invited to run merch table for this burlesque festival, I said, okay. And I went. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I can sell things and collect money. So I did that, and I got to watch my very first burlesque act from the back of the house through the little doors and peeking back through the audience, and my mind was blown. Mind was blown. I really fell in love with what I saw, and it was amazing and incredible. And I just remember seeing a performer in big, beautiful, sparkly gown with a nice, big, fluffy boa, and just being so empowered on stage. The performer, actually, I had been chatting with all weekend, and I had no idea she was actually going to perform. She was running her own merch table across from me. And like I said, her and I had been chatting up all up until that point when I was finally able to take a break away and look and watch the show. And that was where I felt like my heart opened up for the very first time. And I just fell in love. I say that. I was like, I fell in love with burlesque. Like burlesque is my heart and my soul. And I light up when I talk about it. And I want other people to be able to light up when they look back on their lives and look back on what their legacy is and what the story that they want to leave behind is, and not just some, you know, clocking in 40 hours a week and just coming home and feeling like you don't have enough energy or life force inside you to be able to, accomplish anything. That's what burlesque has brought to me. And that very first weekend, I just remember being so in awe. And what's funny is I actually didn't even realize that this festival had some who's who of burlesque, like some really like big names, especially even now. Like now fast forwarding, when I say 9 years, that was 9 years ago. Coming forward 9 years ago, from 9 years ago, some of these performers that I met back then are really big names now. Like I'm not going to name drop anybody. That's not what this show is going to be about. I'm not going to name drop any people. But when I realized after that weekend ended, and after I realized that, okay, hey, my life does have worth and it does have value, and how do I do this thing called burlesque? I came to learn that, like I said, some of these people were not just, I thought they were all local people. I thought they were just all from, New Mexico, that were just like, oh, let's do this burlesque festival. Nope. That's not what it was. It was people from all around the country. I think even from probably some places not in the US. And it was a grand old time. And my next question to my coworker was, okay, so how do I do this? Like, so I'm all in. This is for me. Like, I didn't know what burlesque was before. I now see what you mean by it's not the same as what is technically portrayed in the movie Burlesque, but hey, it's beautiful and it's sparkly and it's magical, and I want to do it. I see myself up there. So from there, oh boy, my life changed so much. I have been able to not only travel around the US, I also have been able to travel internationally. I've had the opportunities to produce sold out shows. I've I actually I emceed a show last year. I got on the microphone and I started introducing people for the very first time last year. It's been a great time, and all of this wouldn't have happened had I not taken a side, not side, lost my spot. Um, I wouldn't be where I am today had I not gone through the hard times that I had to go through. And had I not been at such a low point in life asking, what comes next and why don't I have any purpose? And for me, it was, jumping headfirst into burlesque and allowing it to really just take over my life. I then, gosh, let's see. So I just asked, how do I get into this? What do I do? And, they were so kind and so nice and generous. And they said, okay, well, you just join our troupe and this is how you get in. And once you're involved with our troupe, then you get to help out at shows. And, once you're ready to perform, then you get to go on stage and perform. And to me, that sounded like a great deal. Like I mean, it sounded easy enough. And I hope to you, if you are ever inspired to perform burlesque or to get on stage and do, anything that inspires you, uh, that you do it because it's a great time. And even if you don't want to become an expert, I know that there are plenty of people in burlesque that don't necessarily perform on stage all the time. When I got my start, obviously I was running the merch table. Then I went from running the merch table to what we call kittening, or there's different names, kittening or tip charting. It's partially, even combined with stage managing and can be combined with stage managing. Running merch tables, just doing a lot of the back of the house type stuff. I did that for a number of years before I started performing. I even got into producing before I started performing. I was producing or like at least co-producing or helping produce, like assist in production on the back end of shows and of festivals, and did that for probably about 2 or 3 years before I actually decided to step on stage. And 7 years ago in March, I just celebrated my burlesque anniversary or burlesque birthday, so to say, this month. And yay, happy 7-year birthday to me. Uh, it brings me a lot of joy to say that I've been able to have the opportunities to perform as often and as long as I have. So, it's intoxicating being able to say that I have stumbled upon a world and upon people that are willing to teach you to feel empowered and to feel like being in your own skin is natural and isn't something that you should attest to. I want to come back around and say, like to thank everybody for listening and for hearing this first segment and this first episode on how burlesque literally just fell into my lap, and how, because of how it made me feel and the excitement and the light that it just brought, it gave me the ability to feel like I could jump forward into it. And if you feel like you want to jump forward into something that's going to, better yourself, and that, can also bring you joy in ways that you never thought possible, I look forward to having you back next month on the fourth Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So thank you again. This has been Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change. I am your host, Lana Montreese. You can learn more about me and what I have going on my website, lanamontreese.com, and we will have more fun stories and another journey again next month. Thank you and have a wonderful day. You have been listening to Banking on Burlesque, the propelling point of change with me, Lana Montreese. Tune in every fourth Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific on transformationtalkradio.com. Like I did, you will discover that healing starts within, and I would love to help you navigate into a world of sparkle, wonder, and a lifetime of magical change, and become empowered and heal from trauma through burlesque with me. Visit lanamontreese.com. That's lanamontreese.com.